Thinking of moving to the Oklahoma City area, and maybe you've heard that Edmond is the place to be. Well, I've put together a big list of pros and cons of the Edmond, Oklahoma area, so you know exactly what to expect when you move here. So let's get into it. Thanks so much for joining us today. As I mentioned, we're going to be discussing Edmond, Oklahoma, which is located across the northern part of the Oklahoma City metro. Don't get confused, Edmond is not the same as Oklahoma City. As you will see in this video, there's some pretty distinct differences between the two cities, even though they're adjoining. Kind of like mismatched socks on laundry day. You know what I'm talking about. Edmond was first established in 1889 during the Oklahoma Land Run, and after Oklahoma became a state in 1907, Edmond grew into quite the vibrant and successful community. Today, Edmond is home to multiple universities, a wide array of industries, and nearly 100,000 residents. Even though all of the OKC metro has a similar reputation, Edmond in particular is considered to be a great place to raise a family. Now, to give you an idea of the growth, in the year 2000, there were only 68,000 people living in Edmond compared to the nearly 99,000 people today. That's an annual growth rate of around 1.58%. So listen, there's no denying that Edmond has a few great things to offer. The question is, are those things a good fit for you? But first, if you're thinking of moving to the Oklahoma City area, whether it's in the next few weeks or few months from now, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help make a smooth move right here to OKC. You're going to find my contact information in the description below, so please feel free to shoot me a call, a text, or an email, or even better, click the link below to schedule a one-on-one video call with me so we can discuss how I can help you buy that perfect home here in OKC. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about Edmond. All right, let's start with the pros, because let's be honest, those are more fun, but you're going to want to stick around to the end because we've definitely got some cons. Now, if you've seen any of my videos before, you probably know that one of my favorite things about the Oklahoma City area is all of the opportunities to have fun in nature. And Edmond does not disappoint on that front. There are currently nearly 30 parks in Edmond, many of which include biking trails, walking trails, and more. I personally like to visit Arcadia Lake, Hafer Park, and Midge Park, the latter of which has a multi-purpose activity center and an outdoor amphitheater. And when I say Edmond is kid-focused, I mean it. You're never more than a few minutes away from splash pads, playgrounds, pools, or a water park. And while you're making your way around Edmond, there's also some cool art throughout the city. You can enjoy the variety of murals, stained glass, and steel sculptures, all of which add to the charm of this growing city. Sure, it's charming for them, but I put a couple hundred bunny sculptures in my front yard and suddenly I'm weird. Like I said before, the population of Edmond has grown an astounding 45% since the year 2000. And as a result, we've seen lots of beautiful new communities and developments. Now, this in turn has contributed to major growth in the economy as a whole. And unless you live at the top of Mount Crotchety, I'm angry, you probably like it when a city is growing and happy. After all, this has helped make Edmond far more self-sufficient than your average suburb in a major city, where a lot of other towns you end up having to drive into the city for the best shopping, entertainment, and restaurants. Edmond pretty much has it all right at your fingertips. And more growth also means a lot more home options. Edmond is pretty much packed to the gills with old homes, new homes, big homes, pretty much whatever you're looking for. And though Edmond homes might cost you a little more than the rest of the metro, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, you're likely to find whatever it is you're looking for without too much trouble. Now again, family is king in Edmond, and the city has gone to great lengths to make sure that families have whatever they need to thrive. And as an example, Edmond frankly has some of the best schools in Oklahoma. To give you an idea of what I mean, Edmond Public Schools is always in the top 3 school districts in all of Oklahoma, and the Deer Creek School District in West Edmond has a 96% graduation rate. The private schools in Edmond also rank among the top in the state according to niche.com and greatschools.org. In short, Edmond is a great place to learn more gooder so your kids don't have to grow up and make YouTube videos. So this next part is a little more anecdotal, but as someone who's driven around the Oklahoma City metro my entire life, I can say that Edmond roads are just a lot nicer and better maintained. Now remember, there are 4 distinct seasons here in Oklahoma, and the winter and the summer can bring some pretty extreme temperatures, and that wreaks havoc on our asphalt. But somehow Edmond seems to have a secret crew of pothole repairmen just stashed away somewhere. So yeah, pretty much everywhere I drive throughout Edmond, the roads just seem to be newer and smoother. Now sure, there does seem to be always construction going on, but at least this means they're out there fixing the roads more quickly than the rest of the OKC metro. So well-maintained roads are definitely a pro when it comes to your driving experience in Edmond, but we are going to talk a little more about that when we get to the cons. I've already mentioned that Edmond is more than just your average suburb of the Oklahoma City area. It's definitely its own city. The scenic downtown is kind of straight out of a Hallmark movie with shops, restaurants, and antique shops. It also hosts a number of fun events that happen throughout the year, including an event called Herd on Herd, which happens through the warmer months. That's definitely one to check out. You really don't find yourself needing to leave the city to find things like restaurants, shops, and entertainment because there's just so much of it nearby. With that said, OKC is still a great place to spend some of your time, and its proximity to Edmond is really one of the perks of both cities. Generally, Edmond is about a 20-minute drive from downtown Oklahoma City and about a 30-minute drive to the Oklahoma City Will Rogers Airport. So this gives you an opportunity to enjoy the bigger city life, but only if and when you want to. So you might be asking, what's so great about OKC proper? Well, it's funny you ask. Pretty much my whole channel is dedicated to that entire topic, so feel free to stick around and watch a few videos and see how Edmond residents enjoy the best of both worlds. A wise t-shirt once told me, "Nobody's perfect." And believe it or not, that applies to cities as well. So let's talk about some cons when it comes to living in Edmond. As a realtor, it makes sense I would start with home prices. At the time of this video, the median home price in Edmond is right around $375,000 compared to around $260,000 throughout the rest of the OKC metro. So if you see that you can get a home in the OKC area in the $250,000 to $300,000 range, well, that's absolutely true, even at Edmond.
Oh, really?
Just know that what you're going to get at that price point in Edmond is going to be a little less home than you're going to find in the rest of the OKC metro. It goes without saying that the cost of housing is probably a really large consideration when families are considering moving somewhere. So when you're weighing the pros and cons, you'll definitely just need to decide if paying a little more for your home is worth it to live in Edmond. Now, because Edmond is so desirable, it's probably no surprise that the cost of living across the board is going to be a little higher than Oklahoma City, coming in right around 6% higher. As I just mentioned, a significant portion of that is going to be the cost of housing, but you're also going to pay a little bit more when it comes to things like utilities, food, groceries, entertainment, childcare, and a few other categories. But saying all that, it's important to remember that living in Edmond is really only expensive by Oklahoma standards. It is still nearly 10% lower than the national average. Just know that if moving to Oklahoma is based primarily in saving money, there are going to be some less expensive areas in the Oklahoma City metro. Okay, so this next one is also pretty anecdotal, but trust me, I've never met anybody who's driven in Edmond who doesn't agree. The traffic blows, like the wind sweeping down the plains. And this is especially true during rush hour. Edmond, like the rest of the OKC metro, is set up on a grid system. So every mile or so you get to another red light, totally normal. But in Edmond during rush hour, there seems to be a few stoplights. You're gonna get stuck there for a few cycles. And of course, the traffic has only been made worse by the rapid growth of the city. Now, the good news is, if you're moving to Edmond from a major metropolitan area, you're probably not gonna blink an eye at the long commute times. Hell, maybe some of you might laugh at me for even complaining about that. Just know that if you're living in Edmond, you really can't avoid it. Because if you're gonna live in Edmond, you're gonna need a car. It is definitely not a very walkable city, and to be fair, that's true of the entire Oklahoma City metro. On top of that, public transportation is pretty limited, and the layout of the city, much like the rest of the OKC metro, makes driving pretty much necessary to get around. So this won't be a huge deal for suburbanites or people moving from less populated cities, but if you're moving from a big city where you can get away with a subway pass and a skateboard, it's going to take some getting used to, and it means you'll have to budget for things like fuel, maintenance, insurance, and all that time you're going to spend at stoplights. Maybe it'll give you time to text your mom back, only when fully stopped. Another thing you'll likely notice is the slightly higher taxes when living in Edmond. Now, of course, living in Oklahoma is a pretty low tax state in general, but still, if that's one of the reasons you're moving here, just know that Edmond is going to hit you a little more in the pocketbook when it comes to taxes. For example, the effective property tax rate is 0.87% in Oklahoma in general, and throughout the OKC metro, that can vary from around 1.1% to about 1.4% once the city and the county get their cut. And unfortunately for those living in Edmond, the city sits near the top of that range. Now, to be fair, we aren't talking about life-changing money, but we're not talking about pennies either. I just want you to know that this can impact your overall cost of living, so it's definitely something you want to keep in mind when budgeting for your move. Now, one of the cons you could say about Edmond, Oklahoma would be the sometimes extreme weather. Now, to be fair, that's not exclusive to the Edmond area. The weather throughout the OKC metro can be a little tricky if you don't know what to expect. So if you'd like to know just how crazy the weather can get here, check out this video right here. And as always, guys, until next time, I certainly hope to see you soon. See ya.